This feels like a powerful one, you guys, so I'm gonna need you to bear with me. Happy Leo new moon. As always, you want to watch the first part of this video before you go skipping to your sign, because that's where all the juice is. We don't spend a lot of time on the horoscopes at the end. Like, the beginning is where you're going to get the most. I really make this beginning part like the personal collective spin on all of it. I take all of the collective archetypes and bring them down to earth to where everybody can relate and grab something from it that's really powerful and really deep. So keep that in mind. Okay, anyways, we are getting off of Cancer season for this Leo new moon. We are literally at the end of Cancer season, now starting Leo season. And I want to just kind of give a little bit of a recap here because Cancer season has been absolutely insane. I don't know how it's been for you guys. I've seen a lot of your comments though. I'm pretty sure most people have felt the tides of Cancer season, this Cancer season, especially with Jupiter there. It's almost like we are coming off of like this long voyage of being at sea, dealing with storms and tides, but beautiful sunsets and really incredible experiences, but really like deep and intense and emotional experiences. And it's like we've been on a ship, like just revisiting past things that we were attached to, things that our heart was struggling with letting go of, you know, old past versions of us, old past wounds, old insecurities, old things that were clogging us up emotionally. And I know I have had emotional meltdown breakthrough cleanse after emotional meltdown breakthrough cleanse in the last several weeks. Like I have felt probably every single emotion out there in like the last several weeks now because it has just been non-freaking stop. And I feel like this Cancer season has been like an initiation of sorts, an initiation of our souls, our emotions, really, like I said, kind of just getting rid of whatever has been clogging us up emotionally, that we've been clinging to, that we've been holding on to, that we've been, you know, not wanting to let go of. And what I've really realized more than anything is that our emotions are so freaking crucial. Our emotions are so freaking important. Like we cannot have the full experience of being a human without our emotions. Like that is what gives us this full experience of being humans, is the fact that we can feel it. And I think within the emotional intelligence world and within the emotional healing world, it's such a crucial, vital step for any spiritual process, for any awakening, for any enlightenment, for any self-development journey, because whatever is holding you back emotionally, you will see come up in your external reality over and over and over again. And more than anything, the whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing, I really, if I wasn't convinced before, which I'm pretty sure I was, I'm even more convinced now, because whatever it is that we are holding on to emotionally, that it's time for it to go. It's time for it to release. It's time for us to integrate it, heal it, love it, whatever. It's going to come up over and over and over again. And it will always be the thing that is the catalyst that pulls us back into an old identity, that pulls us back into an old paradigm, that pulls us back into an old matrix of acting in a way that feels unlike ourselves. And that's what this all leads up to now as we're entering Leo season. Unlike ourselves. Like, who are you? Who are you becoming? What is your evolution looking like? Who have you been? But more importantly, who are you now? And I think this Cancer season has been like, okay, yeah, you've been a lot of things in the past, and there's like a lot of emotional attachments and entanglements and stories all wrapped around whoever you've been in the past. And it's time to start kind of cutting those ties, cutting those emotional cords, and like letting them go. And this Cancer season has been very highly emotional, but also very highly spiritual. You know, it's like, hey, look, like, yes, this happened in the past, and whatever you're emotionally feeling about it is the thing that is keeping you stuck here. And the very thing that is keeping you from embracing your wholeness, the wholeness of your energy now, and the wholeness of your authenticity now, in order for you to move forward. And so I think that it's so much about learning to be present and love yourself now, right as we are coming up on this Leo new moon opposite Pluto. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put my chart up on the screen. I know I got into it super early this time, but it's just, there's so much that I want to share with you, and I'm just trying to make sure that I go over it all. So my chart should be up on the screen now. And the, big thing that I really want to go over here, because I do feel like context is going to make this land for you the most. I do feel like understanding these energies and these different archetypes and how they all are combining and playing out is going to help you understand it the most, okay? So we have a new moon in Leo, right? Leo is ruled by the sun. This is source energy. And this is soul energy. This is the fire and the vibrance and the vitality of the soul, the magnetic self, all of the things that you are, all of the different aspects that make up who you are as a soul here on this earth. Now, because you are a soul here on this earth, you are in a human body, and that human body has specific, things kind of ingrained in it, like an ego, a survival mechanism that, is so much about, basically us surviving. That is so much about us needing to rely on ourselves and our instincts to survive in this earthly realm. And so with that, though, the ego can play out in a lot of other ways, especially now that we are surviving in a different time, in a different time here on earth that isn't just about like running from bears or wolves or surviving through the night with no shelter. And it's surviving in different ways, social ways, within this reality, within this current paradigm, within this current matrix, within these current, boxes and categories and social dynamics that we are living through this time, right? And so the ego can do a lot of things. It's not just like, oh, I am the best ever and everybody look at me. It's also like, okay, I'm going to shrink in order to gain that acceptance, to gain being seen, to gain that validation. I'm going to perform and, put on this performance, which is a word I keep hearing a lot lately, to also gain validation, to be accepted, to also be seen. Okay, I'm going to shame myself. I'm going to take on this shame or blame another person so I don't have to take on this shame, just so I don't have to take responsibility or look at myself, right? These are all the different ways that the ego can play out in. Now, not all of them. I'm sure there's a lot more, but those are just some examples. And the reason that this is so important is because these are also the ways, like the ego's not all bad. The ego can be used for good, like seeing the different characteristics and skills that you have and the different talents that you have and knowing how to work with them and loving yourself for who you are and being able to have this awareness of the self, like your awareness is kind of like your source energy and the self is kind of your ego and human in this realm. And so it's like, we're able to do that because of the ego. So the ego isn't all bad. This isn't one of those like, oh my God, you got to kill the ego, because there's no way you can do that anyway. It's more so coming to source energy within yourself. When people talk about killing the ego, they talk about kind of merging with source energy, in my opinion, and from what I've experienced. And so true power comes from within, not external to us. It's not in somebody else's validation of us. It's not in somebody else telling us good job. It's the same reason that you can be validated over and over and over and over again. But if you don't feel it, if you don't feel that way about yourself, it's not going to matter. Your best friends and your family can tell you till you're blue in the face that like you are the best ever. You have so much potential. You are amazing, an incredible human, and you are here to do amazing things. But if you don't believe it, you're not going to act from that place. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to be in that energy. Therefore, you're going to continue to act from a place of feeling less than, or feeling unworthy, or feeling not good enough, or feeling small, whatever the case may be. And this is why when we are dependent on our external realities to change, whether that be a person to change, people to change, the world to change, the situation to change, the circumstances to change, your circumstances don't have power, you do, okay? Your circumstances only have power if you're telling yourself that they have power, right? Because you are source energy. And I'm going to give you so many different examples of this because I've had so many different examples of this, not only throughout my life and throughout my healing journey, but also just within like the last several weeks. Okay. So I had this situation come up in my life where this person that I kind of had to deal with, was treating me in a way. I was perceiving them to be treating me like they were judging me and thinking of me as like I was inadequate, like, or I just did not understand. Like I felt like they were misunderstanding me and thinking that I was misunderstanding a lot of other things. And I started feeling and noticing this conflict started rising up in me. Like the first couple times I was able to brush it off and not take it on and not make it my own. And then after several more times, eventually it started bringing up this old wound in me that I have felt so many times throughout my life. And it felt like I was this big, and in response to me starting to take this personally and it triggering this old wound in me, I literally started acting super timid around them. I started like shrinking myself. I started just being really quiet, and I was just feeling like I was not myself. Again, not myself in this situation. And I kept catching myself wanting to point the finger at them and be like, well, it's them. Like, they're the bad guy here. And I just kept finding myself wanting to blame them. But then I would stop myself and I would hear this other voice overcome me and be like, it'd be so easy to just blame them, wouldn't it? It'd be so easy to just point the finger at them and be like, well, they're treating me like this and they're treating me like I just don't get it, or like, you know, like I'm unappreciated or like whatever. But it's not them, it's you. Like, you're the one feeling this way. It's bothering you. Now, that doesn't go to say that like, oh, just, you know, if someone is treating you really badly, that it just necessarily bypasses that. But I can only work on myself. And I knew that most of it was within me. And I knew from past experiences, like when I work on the wound, my external reality shifts and it's no longer even a problem. The problem completely goes away. Like the external reality literally changes like instantly to mirror the internal shift. I've had that happen so many times, and that's an energetic shift. And so anyways, I start working on myself, and I'm like sitting with this feeling, and I'm sitting with this, and it just felt like shame over and over. And I could feel it starting to like form in my body. And I sat with this like on and off for like a whole week. And then all of these other situations started coming up, like remembering all of these other situations from the past where I had felt like this in so many different circumstances. And I'm like, you know, moving through those, and I'm feeling those, and I'm feeling the shame about those, and I'm feeling the guilt about those, and I'm feeling all of these different emotions just come up through my body and within me. And eventually I get to this point where I'm like, you know, I'm sitting there in the front seat of my car, and I start having this experience where I started remembering this awakening that I had one time, that where I was like looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, holy shit, I am the one. Like, I am creating all of this. Like I'm creating all of these situations that I've been feeling so, you know, upset about. And they've all taught me lessons, or they all have been mirroring back to me where I have not been true to myself, or where I'm still holding on to something where it's time to let it go. Same with this situation. It's not coming up to punish me. It's coming up because it's showing me where this wound is that I have within me of like not feeling good enough, not feeling, you know, like myself, feeling like I don't belong. And so eventually I start facing this. And in that moment, in the front seat of my car, and all of the feelings just start coming up. Like I am literally like vibrating, and I just start like bawling, like I'm like crying, and I have all these different feelings and stories just coming up and washing through me. And at the same time, it's like I'm feeling the shame, but I'm also like feeling gratitude for the shame and love for the shame. And it's like, it was just such an integrative experience, you know? And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I don't need to fight this shame anymore. I don't need to fight this feeling of not being good enough anymore. I just need to love it. And when that came through me and I just loved it, it was like it brought it out of the darkness and into the light. And through doing that, I realized that it was a lie, that I was never not good enough. And that it just completely dissipated. It was like an illusion. It was all an illusion. And it was all a game that I created for myself, that I got lost in playing, that I was playing and I forgot I was the creator of it. And it was like just this matrix kind of broke, like the game just kind of broke. It was like game over, you know, like that game is done. But it wasn't just in this situation. Like this situation just brought it up, right? It was in many other situations throughout my life. And that's why it was just all kinds of, like I was vibrating for like an hour after this, because it was like a full on emotional and energetic release, and a divine experience at that, because right after that, I feel within me like this divine voice saying, don't you see now? You are always good enough. And so oftentimes in life, when we are dealing with things, when we are dealing with situations, conflicts, problems, issues, it's often this, I find. It's often that, and even if we've been dealing with the same thing for a while, it's because we're still attached to something about it. We're still attached to a certain story about it, a certain feeling about it, a certain narrative about it. And we're just hanging on to that for dear life. Now, obviously, there's nuances to this, right? There's different levels to this. But either way, our power always comes from within. And as soon as that happened in the front seat of my car, I felt like a new person afterwards. And when I ran into this other person again, they actually, when I first ran into them, they came up to me and asked to have a conversation with me, which was a little bit out of the usual. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so we sat down and had a conversation, and they actually apologized to me about the way they had been treating me without me even saying anything yet to them, and said that they had had something personal going on in their lives, and they were kind of realizing that they weren't talking to me in like the best tone. And it just shifted everything. And again, as soon as the energetic shift happens, as soon as your internal world changes, the world actually changes. It's insane how that happens. Like, you don't, so much of the time we focus on changing our external reality. We focus on changing our circumstances. We focus on changing other people, other things, the world at large, because we're all, I feel like, at least I really can only speak for myself, but I've seen this with many others too. We're stuck in some kind of game of right and wrong, good and bad. This person's the bad guy, this person's the good guy, or some old paradigm that we've boxed ourselves into, that I can't be this because I'm that. I'm a woman, so I can't be that. I'm a mom, so I can't be that, or else people will think I'm this. Or I can't, like this, or else people will think I'm that. Or I can't, do this, or else people will think I'm X. Like, fill in the effing blank, right? Like, we all kind of have these different stories and paradigms that like may have not even came from us, that we've just accepted. If I do this, my family will think that. If I'm too confident, then people will think I'm egotistical and a narcissist. If I am too shy and too timid, then people will tell me to just be myself. But then when I love myself, people think that I'm egotistical. And then if I, am like super happy, then people are like, tone it down, but then if I tone it down, people are like, you're not being how you were before. Like, so there's no winning when we exist inside these paradigms. Like, there's literally no winning. And then we also exist inside of the game of this person is the bad guy and this person's the good guy, or I'm the bad guy and everybody else is the good guy, or I'm the victim and they're the bad guy. And it was so easy. Like, I kept watching my old self want to put me in this role of like, oh, I'm the victim here. I'm the one being talked to like XYZ here, and this person is the one in the wrong. And it's like, I decided not to play into that narrative anymore. I decided to keep sitting with these feelings and to keep sitting with my frustrations. And I knew deep down that it was shame. I could just feel it underneath of everything. It was just shame that was sitting there. I ended up doing a workshop, and like an in-person astrology workshop for a friend that I've done in-person workshops before for, and it, from my perception, didn't go as good as my previous workshops. Like, I was all up in my Aquarian moon. I've been doing a lot of like introspection and emotional releasing. So I was just not my typical like, entertainer self. My performance, again, that word, I felt like could have been better. Like, the information was good, the performance was not so great. And then I felt shame about that. It was like all of these different situations were coming up in my life, things that happened last year in 2024, that I felt shame about, or, negative comments I was getting that I felt shame about, like, it was just, I was allowing others' perceptions of me to change my perception of myself. And I was also, and all others' perceptions of me, all that was doing was trying to get me to look at this deep wound within me. And sometimes I feel like when we feel stuck, or we feel like we're in the thick of things and things aren't really moving as fast as they usually do, and we're dealing with like a lot of emotional stuff, or like we're dealing with, you know, a situation or like an issue that feels like we've been trying to solve forever now, a lot of the times it's like we're being held there. Really, we're holding ourselves there because we're too attached to certain things. Again, we have too many emotional stories around what things are, what things aren't. We don't want to, it's like we're on a higher level. We're there because we are there to let go and heal the parts of us that this situation is bringing up. Because on some higher level, again, we are source, so we are designing all of this. And I know that can be a very hard place to get to. It's not always easy for me, you know, like that's why I'm telling this whole story right now, right? Like it's not always easy for me, but you know, when we blame, it's so easy to blame our external reality. It's so easy to blame our circumstances, other people, you know, in the world and all of this stuff. But it's like, okay, if that's the story that you want to live in, you're allowed. Like no one's trying to take that away from you. You are totally allowed to keep being the victim or the bad guy, or having a bad guy and needing the bad guy to change for you to change, or needing the world to change for you to change, or needing this situation to change for you to change. You're still allowed to do that. Like that is a story that you are allowed to write because you are the creator of your story. But that is not a story that I wanted to keep writing, because I've written that story many times. There's been many chapters of that story in my life, you know? And so I got to this place where it's like, if there are no victims and there are no bad guys, who am I then? My screen keeps dying. Who am I then? If I can't be the bad guy, and I also can't be the victim, like what rises in that moment? And what rises really are the feelings that we resist with these labels, with these paradigms, with these stories. Like I sometimes take so much, like I look at myself so much that I feel like everything that goes wrong is my fault. Like I am to blame for it. I'm the bad guy. I'm my own worst enemy. Okay. I am the person behind the curtain controlling it all. And I am the person behind the curtain. But the shame that I feel from that keeps me stuck in my life, and therefore not progressing, therefore not becoming more of who I am, therefore not evolving. And it takes me a while to work through that shame, because I'm like, well, it's my fault, or I did it, or like whatever. And the thing is like, when we kind of detach from needing to be the victim, or needing to be the bad guy, or there needing to be a victim or a bad guy outside of us, we realize that we're human. And this is something that I have really been accepting and coming back into as like a part of myself, because as a human, we experience all of these different feelings, but the human is also so insanely strong, because the human can also hold all of these different feelings. We can hold shame for years. We can hold suffering for years. We can hold rejection for years. We can hold unworthiness for years. We can hold heartbreak for years if we want to. And I feel like our human doesn't get enough credit sometimes, especially in spiritual places. It's like you always have to be like, kumbaya, I am on top of the world and I am all wise in my higher self and I'm fully integrated and I am God, you know, like, and you are, right? But you're also here in this earth, in this earthly dimension, in this human dimension. And I used to just feel such a conflict between these two parts of me, because during my peak periods and my big awakening periods, that is exactly how I would feel. I would feel on top of the world. I would feel like I could see everything. I was just completely in my wisdom, completely aligned energetically, had just source divine energy, just feeling like it was with me 24/7, felt like I was co-creating the universe and everything. And then my human, I'd have these downfalls, I would call them, of humanness and just in the human for like long periods of time. And I'd be like, oh, how do I get back? How do I get back? I want to be back there. And the very feeling of wanting to go back to something, again, the past, Cancer season, like I talked about earlier, the very questioning and the need for some answer in the past, or the need for something in the past, is the very reason that we are not progressing forward in the present. And this is what I have come to find over and over again in my life, that when I can untangle all of the emotional hangups and all of the emotional knots and stories from the past, and I can finally come to a level of peace with all of it. I can love every decision that I've made, learn from every decision that I made, and not have any attachment to any of it anymore, not feel shame about it anymore. And then I can accept myself now. And that's where it starts now with this Leo new moon, this need for presence, this need for accepting yourself as you are right now, instead of trying to get back to something that you were, or trying to be something else in the future. It's like, how can I love myself fully, wholly, right now? Not get rid of this part of me that feels gross because of XYZ, or get rid of this part of me that feels shame because of XYZ, or not get rid of this part of me that's judging myself because of et cetera, et cetera. But how can I love these parts of me? Because that's bringing them to light. That's bringing them out into the light, where they're no longer controlling you from the dark, because whatever you fight, including the parts of yourself that you don't want to feel, the feelings inside of you that you don't want to feel, whatever you fight, you feed. So who are you choosing to be now in this moment? Instead of in the past or in the future, who are you choosing to be now? And who are you if you're no longer a victim and you no longer want to carry around that identity? Because I'm like, literally, when I get into that victim energy, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I end up creating so many situations in my life where I'm a victim. I end up creating so many situations in my life where I feel small. I feel, just like the answer is always outside of me. And again, this isn't to fight off, the feeling of being a victim, because I used to do that too. And so this isn't to bypass some kind of tragic thing. You can truly be a victim of something in the past. But again, do you want to live in that frequency? Do you want to continue to live in that story? And I feel like, through the last several weeks, it's like I've been both the victim and the bad guy, like I've gone in between, and then I've been like an emotional mess, and then I've been full of shame, and then I've been full of gratitude, and then I've been full of self-love, and then I've been full of self-judgment. Like, it's just been a constant roller coaster of emotion. And I talked about in my last several videos, like how to move through that roller coaster of emotion. And so, but it's like, I kept sitting with it, because I kept feeling like these were all here for a reason. They were all part of some kind of divine intervention. They were all part of my soul teaching me something, or like something that I may not have been able to see right there in those moments, but that was important. So this new moon in Leo has been, or is going to be, opposing Pluto in Aquarius. And this is why this is such a powerful new moon. It's like we have some kind of new chapter that also is coming with facing some kind of darkness, some kind of opposition, some kind of massive transformational shift, some kind of reckoning, seeds being planted for something new in the face of the unknown, in the face of something deep, intense, dark, in the face of owning our personal power, and seeing where maybe we've given our power away to other people, other situations, social dynamics, social paradigms, boxes we've been trying to fit ourselves in. And so it's like, what parts of you do you need to see? Not that others need to see, but that you need to see, in order to set yourself free from needing some kind of validation. It's like, once you see those parts of yourself, other people see those parts of you too. It goes inside out. inside out, internal, external, internal, external. What parts of yourself that are hiding in different corners do you need to see and accept and embrace and love so that you can fully live in your wholeness? And with this Pluto and Aquarius transit, this does bring in the social element to it. This does bring in society and other people and what other people think and all of that. The different paradigms that we live in, the world, the social dynamics, all of that. So it's like a reckoning of old projections, social roles, fears regarding authenticity or visibility, where we've been overperforming or underperforming, kind of dimming our light to fit in, or, trying to overexert ourselves to stand out because we need some kind of approval. And the thing is like, if somebody else, like, so much of the time we worry about how others see us and we worry about like what others think of us. And if others treat us a certain way, we're like, oh, like, why are they treating me that way? Like, and we get upset about it. Like, that's how we know that there's something deeper going on. But here's the thing. This is about shifting from approval to radiating your own inner truth. And at the end of the day, if they, whoever they is, need you to be someone other than yourself, if they need you to be bigger or smaller than you actually are, then they aren't really for you anyway. And sometimes when we have a certain belief about ourselves or we feel a certain way about ourselves and somebody else is triggering it on the outside, sometimes we create the self-fulfilling prophecy. Like in my situation, I was literally starting to act like somebody that wasn't good enough because of what was happening with this person and how they were speaking to me. And I was literally starting to act like somebody that was small and timid and not good enough. And, like I was like and it was like aggravating me because I'm like, this is not who I am. Like, why am I like feeling the need to like act this way, And then I would go back and forth between that. Like, you know what? No, I'm going to prove that I'm not this way. And I'm going to fight it. And I'm going to prove that I am better than this, like, and then I would end up like, making a fool out of myself when I would do that. And so it was like trapping me because it was like, okay, both ways that you're trying to deal with this, are you reacting from shame and fear? And so let's sit with this. Let's feel this instead of trying to run from it and prove it's not true or like completely allow it to, become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's like, yeah, okay, I just won't be good enough then, and it's like the moment that I freed myself from that cage of thinking that either I'm the victim or I'm the bad guy or I'm not good enough or, this person's the bad guy and I'm the victim. Like, these are all cages that we put ourselves in, that we all have the key to. And as soon as I freed myself from that cage, from needing anybody else's approval, from like believing into this illusion that I somehow wasn't good enough, that I was making something that was happening external to me mean something about who I was. And the only reason I was doing that was because it was an old program that was running within me from like childhood. And I was able to sit with that program and completely allow it to fizzle out, to dissipate until it became literally, poof, holy crap, that wasn't even real. And I was so bought into it and it was so real and I was acting that way and literally everything outside of me was treating me that way and I was acting that way and like it became a self-fulfilling thing. It became a real thing. And then right after it was over, it was like there's just so many things that started changing in my external reality because I was embodying a whole different code than I was before. So again, it's like when we bring these things out of the darkness and into the light, and we accept ourselves and we love ourselves for who we are, and we can love these feelings back into wholeness too. It's like that not good enough. It was like a little cloudy raindrop over here. And when I loved it and I opened my ocean to it, it just went right back into the ocean and just absorbed it to where you can't even find it anymore. It's gone. It's just part of the ocean. And that's what happens with our feelings. Like when we really do the deep emotional alchemy on ourselves, this deep emotional work on ourselves, like integrating things. And the next part of this I want to talk about is this is where we start going from being a victim, you know, being in shame, beating up on ourselves, needing there to be a bad guy, whether it's us or someone else, to the creators of our lives. We no longer need other people to change or the world to change or this to change or that to change or them to change or that to change for us to change. It's like, wait, no, I am the creator here. I am in charge of my life. Like, my life is my responsibility. And I'm not going to be a victim to my very own matrix. Like, you are the author of your life. Everything that happens, it's up to you on how you want it to go. What's the narrative that you're going to try to spin here with this? Oh, like, you know, this person is shitty to me, and so I crumble and I give up again because that's the easy thing. You know, like, screw them. Like, it was them. I'm done, you know, like, and I'm not saying like you take responsibility for, you know, other people's actions or like whatever. I'm talking about the ways in which it affects you. That's your responsibility. If it's causing some kind of trigger, feeling, old wound, whatever within you, I'm talking as if most of you watching this are into self-development, are healing, into self-healing, into spirituality, etc., and know these things already. So, you know, I'm just going to trust that most of you understand me, okay? But as soon as I came back into wholeness and went back into like, oh my God, like I have been creating all of this and broke out of my own matrix. It's like literally like Neo waking up from the matrix and realizing that like he created it, right? And it's like, whoa, like you're the guy behind the curtain the whole time, okay? And so it's like when you can get back into this like a creator consciousness, it's like I'm here to create and I don't need all of these stipulations to be a certain way in order for me to feel that way. That's when you take control of your life again. That's when you take your true inner power back. Not that it was ever gone. It's been there all along. Again, we were just plugged into a matrix. And we all have like our own matrices. There's so many different ones we can plug into. There's ones outside of us every day. Like you can scroll through TikTok or whatever and see so many different matrices just in like people's TikToks. Like, you know, the perception that they're coming from, the paradigms that they believe in and that they're attached to, and like, you know, all of that. And so, but we have control over it. Like something can happen to you and it can be the best thing ever, the worst thing ever. You decide, you're the creator. It's all about our perception. And this is also Mercury retrograde in Leo. It's all about our perception. We are creating our perception. And I feel like that is one of the biggest lessons this Mercury retrograde is trying to teach us in Leo. And I've been saying this for weeks now. Also, it comes into our skills, our performance, our usefulness, because Mercury rules this Mars South Node conjunction in Virgo that is in the process of squaring Venus in Gemini. And this is really interesting because I have seen this come up too, like in the situation I was talking about where I was like having to deal with this person who was kind of talking to me in a certain way, and it was causing like some old wounds to come up within me, and I was like really wanting to make them the villain and the bad guy and like, you know, and I was really wanting to like point the finger outside of myself. But I've done work on this so much in my life at this point that I was like, wait a second, it'd be real easy to do that. But then I don't get to face what's going on within me when I do. I give up my own power in that moment, metaphorically, like not literally, but in that moment, it can feel good to be like, oh, not me. I don't have to look at me. Ha ha ha. But it's like, I'm then bypassing myself and I'm robbing myself of an opportunity for growth in that moment. I'm robbing myself of my own evolution, which is the whole reason this situation is getting brought up in the first place. I mean, it was everywhere, you guys. Like, there's so many, like, things I haven't even went over. There's so many different things over the last several weeks that were triggering this same wound within me. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and everything, it was just like, oh my gosh, like it was the same feeling over and over again. And I just kept, like, I didn't give up. I just kept sitting with it when it would come up. Like, I would allow myself to feel it, watch my mind sit there and try to fight against it or create a story out of it or whatever. And I'd be like, nope, nope. And I would just sit with it, contemplate it, talk about it until eventually, like, it just all, the breakthrough finally happened and like the emotional release and energetic shift finally happened with all of it. But this Mars conjunct South Node was so much a part of it too, and Virgo, because it deals with like perfection, control, judgment, criticism, also kind of performance in a way too. Like, are we being useful? Are my skills good enough? Like, am I adequate for doing this, you know? Like, and like, especially like in the situation of like the in-person workshop that I did, I was so perfectionistic about like the information. I focused so much on the information that I ended up running out of time and not having enough time to focus on like the display and how I was going to give the information basically. And because of that, it's like, basically I have realized over the last several weeks of this transit, by being perfectionistic, second guessing yourself, constantly trying not to make a mistake, I ended up making so many more mistakes. And I literally looked like I was, you know, like I was literally like, didn't know what I was doing. Like, I looked like I did not have, like I had no common sense at all. And that's how I looked. And I'm not even just judging myself. Like, it literally became a self-fulfilling prophecy. By me trying to not look a certain way, I ended up looking that exact way. And it's like, it still blows my mind looking back on all of it now. I'm just like, oh my God, like I really, it's just so crazy. Like, in trying to avoid something, it became the very thing that was happening. And like, I mean, I've had this happen so many times throughout my life, but it just hasn't been this apparent in my life for a while, and this crystal clear for a while, where I was so embodied in the energy and believing these different stories that it literally just radiated out through me and became my experience of so many different things. And it just shows me more than ever that whatever frequency that you are carrying, whatever story you're holding on to about yourself, whatever paradigm you're holding on to about everything, you know, whatever emotion you're not facing that's causing you to hold on to all of these things, like it ends up being true. And no wonder you think it's true. And no wonder you fight it and you stand up for it and you defend it, because it's so easy to, because you're literally like, it's like life is mirroring it back to you over and over and over again, but not so you can sit in it. So you can face the feelings that are coming up every time life mirrors it back to you. And oh my gosh, it's just insane. Anyway, but I am so hard on myself. And I've really realized that through this Mars South Node conjunction in Virgo, there's been so much criticism and judgment of myself, but I've also seen this in others, like the person I was talking about, that I was struggling with. Like, they are very particular about things, just have a lot of Mars and Virgo energy. And yeah, it's like I totally have seen this energy all over. And what I have realized with this, the biggest lesson I've learned with this, and maybe you'll be able to relate to this with this Mars and Virgo transit on the South Node, is that improvement doesn't mean that you are bad or that you are unworthy or that something's wrong with you. Just because there's an area for improvement doesn't mean that you're a horrible person and that you're not useful or that your talents or skills aren't good enough or anything like that. Like, you can take responsibility and know that it's okay to have areas of improvement without feeling like a complete failure, okay? And it's okay if you make a mistake. Like, that's how we effing learn, okay? And so once I had faced this shame within myself, I literally ended up hearing from my friend that I did the workshop for, like literally that day. She reached out to me about something random, and then it reminded me of that whole situation. And because I had just faced all the shame within myself and had this huge energetic release, I responded to her and I was like, I was like, hey, by the way, I wanted to tell you, like, I apologize for my performance, that, you know, my performance probably wasn't as great as past workshops. And I really do apologize for that. It's completely on me. I should have taken more time or given myself more time to come up with, you know, some other ideas about, you know, how to relay all the information. So it just didn't feel like a ton of information, and, you know, how to be more engaging and all of that. And so, and basically kind of offered her, you know, a way to make it right. And she was super cool about it. I was like, thank you for acknowledging, you know, areas for improvement. And which, as soon as she said that, I was just like, oh my gosh, Mars, Virgo, South Node. And so anyway, but it's like, I was able to own it and not be this shameful thing anymore, and not be this thing of like, oh my God, I'm not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's what this Mars, South Node, Virgo energy is really bringing up. With the square to Venus, I like literally heard this quote the other day in a show I was watching, and it so reminded me of this square. And I don't exactly like the actual quote because I'm a huge cat person, but I feel like this interaction is so Mars and Virgo, square Venus and Gemini, and it's the interaction of like that old saying of there's more than one way to skin a cat, which I don't like. I'm a big cat person, but I know it's just a saying. It's just, you know, whatever. But someone went in the show, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Very Venus and Gemini, right? There's multiple choices. There's so many different possibilities. And then somebody else responded and said, well, there's only one right way to do it. And that's very Mars and Virgo, right? It's like Venus and Gemini is like, you know, all the possibilities, and there's so many different ways of looking at this. But Mars and Virgo is very much looking for that efficient way, the most efficient, correct way, that some kind of structure to it. Like it's got to have some kind of realness to it. It's got to have some kind of like efficiency to it. It's got to work well. And so I think Venus and Gemini squaring Mars as it's just coming off its conjunction with the South Node is like, hey, look, like I've been saying kind of about Mercury retrograde and Leo, there's more than one perception here. Like you are the creator of your story. You are the creator of how you want to perceive this situation. Okay, like you can go into your boyfriend or husband's bathroom and see like, you know, oh, they didn't clean up like their hair after they shaved, or like whatever, this is gross. And you can think of it as like, oh, well, yeah, that really is gross. Or you can think of it as like, well, I'm glad that they at least take care of themselves. Like, I'm glad that they care about what they look like, and that they take care of their body, and they, you know, that they keep themselves, they keep themselves polished, right? Like you can have, you know, someone like, you know, you can hire someone for like a job or something, and they come in, but you realize it's going to be like a lot more work than you had, you know, than you had previously thought it was going to be. And then you're like, well, actually, maybe they'll be the most improved, you know, like maybe they will be the most improved by the end of this. And maybe their transformation will go to from what they are now to like, they are literally like manager, you know, eventually. And that would be a cool transformation to watch, right? Like you can have whatever perception you want to and create whatever narrative you want to about any situation in your life. But at the end of the day, again, you are the creator. You are the one that is creating all of this. And I think when we forget that, we start thinking that our reality has to change, and other people in our lives and the world, and, you know, all these other things have to change before we change. And that's what holds us back the most, because we're not stepping up into our power. We're not stepping up into control of our lives. We're stuck in some kind of story that we created that is rendering us powerless, where we forgot we were the ones writing the book. We just became the character and forgot that we were also the author. And now we're like stuck in this story that we've created for ourselves and wondering why it sucks, you know? And this is this new moon in Leo opposite Pluto. I really think it's like looking the future and the unknown in the face and being willing to sit there, because it's like at the end of the day, I am on a journey where I am becoming and I am evolving, and I know deep down who I am, or I am in touch with I'm in touch with who I am. Like I'm getting back to who I really am now, not who I was then, not who I may be one day, but now in this present effing moment. If I can love who I am now, that's where all things are possible. That's where everything comes from. And so this is the vibe right now. This is the energy right now. And I think it's no coincidence that this new moon is sextiling and trining Uranus, in Gemini now. It's like there is some like backdoor liberation energy here. It's like trying to break us free from old boxes, old paradigms where we render ourselves completely powerless and think that because we're powerless over some big thing over here, that there's nothing we can do to make our lives better, and it just all sucks and it's going to suck and there's nothing that we can create. And that is like the biggest lie that you could tell yourselves, because you are a creator. You are source energy. Like you have a purpose here. If you're still alive, if you're still breathing, you are not done here. The source energy is still running through you. You have something to create here. And I think this new moon is like planting the seeds of who we're becoming from a place of power, from a place of, reigniting our spark, reigniting our flame, reigniting who we are, and letting go of the past and letting go of parts of us that are no longer aligned with who we are now. And that's okay. And so anyway, this was a long one, I know. Comment down below if you're still with me. We're going to change it up this time. We're going to do sexy alien, okay? So comment sexy alien down below if you're still with me. I appreciate you guys. I know this has been... I feel like this one's been a little different than my other ones. So definitely let me know down below how you resonated with this one, if you liked it, if it was helpful for you, if it had a lot of different wisdom, lessons, things that you needed to hear, if it related with you. I'd love to hear your feedback down below. Thank you guys so much for being here. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into what this means for your rising sign. Alrighty, my fellow Leo risings, it is our season. Finally, happy new moon in our sign. You guys, if you did not watch the July horoscope videos, and even if you did, you need to go back and watch it. Like, I was just listening to it earlier, and I cannot get over how much accuracy is in that horoscope. Like, I literally predicted my month in ways that I don't even know how I did when I was originally filming that. Like, there's no way I really could have for sure known then. The ways that I ended up, it's just insane. So if you want a refresher, you just want like a holy shit moment, or you're still trying to figure out like, what is this month about right now? Like, this has been crazy, or I'm still trying to connect all the dots here, go back and listen to that. It is insane. It is so accurate. Like, I cannot get over it. And I'd love to know if it's still really accurate for you too. And obviously, if you missed the beginning of this video, definitely go back and watch that as well. But anyway, your horoscope for this Leo new moon. We are coming out of Cancer season finally. It has been a journey. It has been a journey the last month or so, where we have been riding the rising and falling tides over and over and over again. A lot of emotion, with the sun being our chart ruler and being in our 12th house. Like, we basically embody that energy. So we have been embodying the Cancer archetype, really sinking into the heart space, really sinking into the feeling world and the emotion world and the emotional roller coasters. But for me, it's been very introspective. It's been like shining a light in like the deepest parts of who I am, the deepest corners of myself, my body, and showing me what has been neglected, or what needed to be felt, what needed to come out, what needed to be integrated, what needed to be purged, cleansed, loved, and brought back into wholeness. And so it's been a very healing, cleansing time. It's also been a lot about resolving things from the past in terms of our internal world and how we feel about things from the past, old versions of us, old attachments, old entanglements, old things that, old insecurities, old cycles of suffering, really, that maybe we don't want to look at, or don't like looking at, or that's been uncomfortable to look at, but we've needed to look at, because it's about setting ourselves free. And with the first house ruling the body, and the sun, coming out of our 12th and into our first, there could be a lot going on with our body, our energy, our vitality. And we could be going through a regeneration of those things. I know that word keeps becoming really big for me. And also purification is like a really big one that I've felt over the last few weeks. But it's like we're going through a purification and a regeneration of all of the inside stuff that no longer aligns with who we are now and where we're going, so that we can recreate ourselves as we are now and accept ourselves as we are now. And so this new moon coming into our first house is kind of like those seeds being planted of this full kind of integration of self happening, but still feeling like there are some things that are unknown, or there's some things that we're facing with Pluto opposite this new moon. There's things that we're integrating within ourselves, but there's also some kind of opposition in our lives. Like there's something across from us that we're either facing, a fear, some darkness that we're facing or moving through, some unknown, or even some kind of actual issue or challenge in relationships or with other people or socially, and where we fit in the world, and the social projections that we have, how other people see us, and where we've allowed those things to kind of have power over us. Like a lot of these lessons deal with power and deal with that which is hidden, which we've faced a lot of. And so it's like the last few weeks have almost been gearing us up for this new moon. This is really important. I even said this in the July horoscope video, that like this month is gearing us up for like the very end of July and beginning of Leo season, where we have this new moon opposing Pluto, the sun opposing Pluto. It's like, this is the time. It's kind of like a reckoning. It feels like a reckoning. It's kind of like the Judgment card. It's like forgiveness and releasing a lot of shame and stuff from the past, and releasing a lot of emotional stuff from the past that's no longer who we are anymore. But also facing some battles that are right in front of us, or facing some, unknown situations that are right in front of us, whether they be with other people or ourselves, or have to do with like how we see the world and our relationships or not. Like either way, it's like there's something here that we are facing off with, or that we know we're going to be facing off with, and that it's like we're staring something in the face that we know is kind of unknown or maybe scary or whatever, while we're also like in the process of coming back to who we are at the same time. And that's kind of like a visual I'm like getting for this. It's like we're staring this big, like vast void in the face. Like we don't know where we're going, or we don't know what's going to happen, or maybe there's some fear that we're facing or moving through, or whatever. But at the same time, we're like patching ourselves up, and we're like, all right, like I know that I'm coming back to myself, and that's the most important thing right now. Like whatever happens is going to happen. I don't have any attachment to it anymore. Like I'm just happy to be back to myself, And so that is what I see for this Leo new moon. And also with like Mars and Virgo on the South Node, this has definitely been bringing up potential areas of improvement in our lives to do with our skills, our money, our things, the things that we have to offer. I know for me, it's definitely been somewhat about self-esteem and like what I'm capable of, or skills that I have, and, things like that. So, but we're definitely facing some areas of perfectionism, and where we've been maybe trying to be overachievers, or where we've been judging ourselves too harshly and expecting perfection out of ourselves. And so now we're kind of leaning into this energy of like, it's okay to make mistakes, number one, and it's okay to improve or have areas for improvement and want to improve and take accountability for that. And it not mean that you're a bad person, or that you don't know what you're doing, or that you're, that you're a failure, or like whatever, right? Again, watch the beginning of this one, and also definitely catch July's horoscope again, because it was really good. Let me know down below how that's resonating, my lovely Leo risings, and we'll talk soon. Comment down below, sexy Leo rising, because you are. Alrighty, moving on to Virgo risings. For Virgo risings, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. This can definitely be a time where you are dealing with some lessons of ego, either where you dim your true self, or are not accepting certain feelings that you feel are not really related with your own self-image, or that you don't really relate with when you perceive yourself, like the feeling of failure, or being not good enough, or being humble, or like whatever, right? Or this could also be where you kind of overdo it, right? Like where you over perceive yourself, Either way, the sun moving through your 12th house right now, and also your ruling planet being there in your 12th house right now, is really shining a light on these different darker places going on within you, within your subconscious, and within your life that are creating self-sabotaging patterns. Like my son, for instance, is a Virgo rising, and he plays football. And he let his ego get the best of him one day because he made a small mistake. He forgot to bring some of his gear that he was supposed to bring, and his coach told him that he couldn't participate in practice that day. And his ego just, all right, well, if I can't participate, then I'm just going to leave. And because of that, he now has to sit out for a week of practice. And so definitely came to bite him in the ass, but it's very like Leo 12th house. Okay. I think that this is definitely a time where you are learning to love the parts of you that aren't always the easiest for you to accept or get along with. I think that this is a time where you are going to see where you have potentially problems, where you shrink yourself down, or where you try to make yourself bigger, where you try to fit in certain boxes to be a part of, or to fit in, especially with the opposition to Pluto here with this new moon in your 6th. It's like you want to fit in with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and your routines and your job, or your, the groups that you belong to, like on a day-to-day basis. But it's like there are some personal things going on behind the scenes that you're having to deal with, or to do with maybe your personality, or the way that you see yourself, or your perception of yourself, or old feelings or old things going on within you, old ways of doing things, or your own skill sets and your own capabilities. And so your own performance, basically, it's a huge word that just keeps coming up over and over again lately. So this is offering you some areas of improvement, not because you're not good enough, not because you're a bad person, not because, you have some, really horrible thing that makes something wrong with you, or that you're a failure or whatever, but just because, it doesn't, just because there's areas of improvement, and there's areas where you can take accountability and responsibility for your actions and certain things in your life, does not mean that you have to shame yourself. And like I've been explaining this to him, there's a difference between, because like so often we want to make somebody else the bad guy, right? Like in his situation, well, my coach, said that, and that's what I thought he meant, and he should have clarified. And yeah, it's like, okay, or you could have clarified, but none of this is to sit here and pick on you, or say that you should be super shameful and feel horrible about yourself, right? But it is to say, like, hey, I'm going to take responsibility for my actions, for my side of the street. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to look within or look at themselves, because they think that that means that then they are the bad guy, right? And it's like, if somebody else is the bad guy, then they can be the bad guy, and I can be the good guy, or I can be the victim. But that traps you in a cage, and in this like less than, smaller than, oh, the power's outside of me, I'm just little me trapped in a cage here, right? Like, and so that doesn't work either. So it's like, you've got to learn, to take accountability. And maybe this won't relate to all of you guys right now. I'm just going on a little rant here because it's what I've noticed with him. It's the one Virgo rising in my life right now that I see all the time. But, I think that it's more so like, you can take accountability and also not beat yourself up, like you can say, yeah, like I own it. I did that, and I'm going to learn from it. I'm not going to do it again, without being like, oh my God, I'm the bad guy. I'm the problem. I'm the horrible person. And so anyway, but I feel like that may if it doesn't all the way relate right now at this new moon, it may relate more in the weeks to come. So just keep that in mind, and comment sexy Virgo rising down below. Let me know how that related with you guys. I'd love to hear your feedback. And we are going to move on to Libra rising. So for Libra risings, this new moon is in your 11th house. And so this is a very social season that is starting for you, and a very introspective season on in terms of your social life, and your friend groups, and the different groups you belong to or have some kind of shared interest or hobby with, or shared goal, shared morals, etc. Either way, it's like this new moon is planting seeds here of like you really reflecting on if the groups and social situations and people that you surround yourself with, and if the goals and aspirations you're kind of, partaking in right now, if they really align with the authentic you, if you're seeking or needing validation outside of yourself and it's causing you to be someone that you're not, or dim your shine, or feel like you need to be all the way on or all the way activated all the time, or if you feel like you're hiding a huge part of who you are, or you're not facing some difficult things, with Pluto opposite of this new moon in your 5th house, like there may be some like deeper stuff going on here, or some old parts of you, or old ways of thinking that are kind of holding you back or clouding your judgment. And so, it could be very easy to feel like you're either the bad guy here or you're the victim here. And so it's like really coming back into like, okay, I need to come into my truth before I can expect others to see me fully, right? Like I need to see myself fully before I can expect others to see me fully. And when I'm full and I've seen myself fully and I'm fully embodied in my truth, then if others see me in it, it doesn't really matter at that point. Like I don't need their validation, right? If they see me in it, cool, it just adds to it, but it's not the reason, right? And so that's really, really important to remember right now with the transits that are happening here. There's a lot of past perfectionism and judgment and shame and criticism that you've been facing and unraveling with Mars on the South Node in Virgo in your 12th, like really showing you likely where you have these old behaviors and old paradigms where you are like, that you're operating from that are actually self-sabotaging you, right? You can improve and also like not be a bad person, right? Like there's areas for improvement, but that doesn't make you a failure or a bad person or like, something to be ashamed of. Okay. And so anyway, I think that right now, like the name of the game is like, who do you want to be? How do you want to create your life? Who are the people that you want to create life with? Who are the people, like this is your life, right? And I feel like maybe you may feel tied to certain circumstances or certain groups or certain social situations or certain people that it's like, it may be very easy to blame them, but it's like, okay, well, why are you allowing them into your life? And what are they bringing up in you? Because that's your part, right? Like the emotions that you're feeling about all of this, or the old belief systems, or the old triggers, or the old self-sabotaging paradigms, matrices, etc., like that's your part. And if you missed the beginning, you want to go back and watch that, because I really feel like you're one of the many rising signs that will definitely relate to a lot of what I said in the beginning, because I talked a lot about that. So anyways, comment sexy Libra rising down below if that resonated, and let me know what resonated about it. And even if it didn't resonate, let me know what you are noticing right now. Again, these things may come up more in the next couple of weeks, so give it some time. And moving on to Scorpio risings. For Scorpio risings, this new moon's happening in your 10th house of your career, your public image, your long-term goals, your legacy, where you're going in life. It's kind of like your North Star. Like, what do you want to fulfill in your life? I've gotten a lot of comments over the last like month or so from people that are a little older in age and that are like, well, I'm already retired, or I no longer have a career. So like, I don't see any of this happening. And that's why I always say career, long-term goals, where you're going in life, your achievements, right? Like it's not always just career. So, you don't always have to look at it for that way. It's like, the pull that you feel outside in the world in some way, shape, or form. So that could be like, you know what? I really want my future to look like this, or you know what? I am, depending on what's happening in your 10th house, like I'm looking back on my whole life and I'm having this moment, like I kind of view the 10th house as like someone's journey through life. And when you have transits in the 10th house, you think more on like a larger scale. You're like, well, what have I done with my life? What do I still want to do with my life? Like, what are the goals that I have? What do I want to be known as, or what do I want to be seen as? What about my, like, things going on with your reputation can come into play. Things going on with, your long-term goals or your vision for your future can come into play. So those are other ways that I see the 10th house. So if you do relate to kind of that, then that's why I'm bringing it up. But especially with this new moon here, like these are, and the sun now being here, this is definitely bringing a spotlight to this area of life where it's like really lighting up this area of life and bringing a lot of energy and vitality here to it. and saying like, where am I going? What is the purpose here? What do I want to put my energy into in terms of like a goal or what I'm building towards, or my next steps towards my goals in the future, creating what I want to create with my life, like contemplating what your next steps are in your life in general, like, and what you want to go towards. Now, if you do have like a career, then this could also be that. It could also be dealing with authority figures, or dealing with your branding, or dealing with your business, or dealing, because it goes into like reputation. There's so many different ways that this can break down, more than just career. But either way, there could definitely be this like calling for you to want to do something that feels fun and courageous and authentic and exciting and warm and lively. But there may be something that really has power over you, or that's coming up, that's like really going on behind the scenes in your personal life, or with your home and family, or even your past. And so this new moon's coming in and really opposing Pluto from your 10th to your 4th, really bringing up your future and your goals and your career and what you want to build in your life, and versus like this deeper personal, hidden, or past thing that's going on with your roots, your foundation. Maybe what your family is going to think of you, or who you were in the past, or what you did in the past, or a family situation that's causing you to feel like you can't express yourself fully, or you can't do what you really want to fully within your career, within your life. This could be so many different situations. But either way, this is coming up, and you're finally kind of facing this, so you can make a decision about something. It's some kind of reckoning moment. It's planting seeds for some kind of reckoning moment as this Sun-Pluto opposition happens, and that you're also integrating. And it's like, we can either let the past go and let it crumble and allow it to no longer have power over us, and have this kind of like phoenix rising moment and set ourselves free from whatever bondage or burdens are going on, in our personal lives or with the past, or, we can keep allowing it to, weigh on us and change who we are, or change what we want, or change like, how we're dealing with things. This could also be a reclamation of like finally just owning your past and bringing it to light, and no longer being scared of it or ashamed of it, or like whatever, and like speaking about it in a really bold way with Mercury retrograde in your 10th. Like, there's so many different things that this could be. Let me know down below, Scorpio risings, though. I'd love to know how this is playing out for you right now. This looks very interesting. And if you missed the beginning, you really want to go back and watch, because you are definitely one of the signs that I think is going to really relate to that first half of the video. So comment down below, sexy Scorpio rising, if you watched till here. I appreciate you. And we are going to move on to Sag risings. So for Sagittarius risings, this new moon is in your 9th house. And this is a very interesting spot to have this new moon in. It's really bringing up kind of these themes of like your perception, philosophies, beliefs, visions, perspectives, opinions on the bigger things in life, what you believe, God, religion, politics, like the world at large, experiencing something out of your comfort zone, or something that feels like you are on the journey of life, which is also, kind of similar to your sign, the archetype of your sign. So with this new moon here, it's like there's seeds being planted of wanting to get out and express yourself more in the world, or in a bigger way, or focus on some kind of self-development journey, or some kind of like journey back to source, or back to like the things that feel authentic to you and creative to you, and coming back to your own beliefs and your own morals and your own worldviews and your own perspectives. But you could feel like there's this matrix or this paradigm going on around you with Pluto and Aquarius in your community, or in your day-to-day environments, or with siblings or friends, or places that you hang out in or frequent on a day-to-day basis, like your job, or family members, or neighbors, or like whatever, that are like kind of in this like, maybe victim consciousness, or this certain perspective or paradigm on life, this certain consciousness that is like you know, that maybe you're no longer relating to anymore, right? Like this is especially what I talked about in the first half of this video. I could really, really see this playing out for you as Sag rising, where it's like you want to take the power back of your life and your story and your journey, and you know, maybe go learn something new, or go back to school, or travel, or go on some kind of self-development journey, like I said, or become a mentor or coach or a teacher, or hire one, or like whatever the case may be. But maybe you have a lot of different voices like in your environment or around you that are like, you know, feeding into some kind of old paradigm that is no longer really lighting your soul on fire anymore. Like it's almost feeling monotonous or robotic, or just like you know, like it's starting to feel like it is holding you back. But maybe these old roles and these old people and these old environments represent something to you that you're kind of attached to, so you don't really want to let it go. Now, on the other hand, maybe this is a time where you are integrating both of these things. You're integrating the old, or you're integrating these old fears, or these old shames, or these old attachments and things that have power over you, and bringing light to them, so that you can help other people in some way. Like this would be maybe like some of you are thinking about starting a podcast, or starting your own channel, or starting your own content to like really make a difference. It's like you want to make a difference in some way, or you want to channel whatever this is into something that feels very powerful for you. That's basically how I am seeing this right now. And you know, this makes a lot of sense with Mars and Virgo on the South Node in your 10th house as a Sag rising. It's like there's a dissolving or a breakdown happening here of maybe a career or a career path, or where you thought you were going, or old future goals and structures that you weren't really, that maybe you're not really feeling anymore. Maybe you're realizing that you've been driven from perfectionism, or shame, or fear, or avoidance. Like you've been this whole time, like you've been being driven out of like fear of making a mistake, or like, you know, fear of, you know, like feeling some kind of shame for not doing something right, or not doing something the way that everybody else does it. And like this Mars South Node in Virgo is like potentially helping some of you realize this, and you're like, holy shit, like I want to do something that I actually love more, or that feels more creative. And maybe this is like a permission slip for that, right? Or maybe it's like, oh, I've been holding myself back in my career, and I'm starting to realize that I am worthy, and I am good enough, and I could run this place if I wanted to, right? Like, so it's going to be different for different ones of you. But either way, I feel like there's just so many different examples coming to me right now. So let me know if any of those are relating with you, Sag risings. Comment sexy Sag rising down below if any of that related to you. And even if it didn't, let me know what you are noticing come up, and go back and watch the beginning of this one, because I really, really think it's going to relate. And then after you're done doing that, go back and watch your July horoscope video, because I also think that that's going to shock you too, with how good everything ended up relating in that video. So anyways, I love you guys. We're going to move on to Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn risings, this new moon in Leo is happening in your 8th house. And so this is definitely a new moon that is kind of planting seeds for some kind of new beginning here that is starting to happen, and that we're starting to piece together with the Mercury retrograde here in your 8th as well. That has a lot to do with, especially for you being in your 8th house, lessons in power, self-actualization, you know, responsibility, self-accountability for things, personal power, and your energy. Basically, like I really view the 8th house as kind of energetic exchange, whether that's monetary or resources or bartering, or even just literal energy, like karmic ties, energetic ties. And so here, I think that this is like, you know, understanding your own personal power and your own personal energy, and how that is entangled with other people, and who it's entangled with, and if that's aligned and if it's not aligned, and learning to cut some of those connections or some of those relations off. Now, with Pluto opposite of this new moon, even more, it's bringing up these themes of power and power struggles and lessons of power and personal power, and, you know, rational intelligence power versus actual true inner power. And so what I mean by that is like circumstantial power is like, oh, I'm in a job role and I'm the leader. Or intelligence power, rational powers, like, oh, like I'm the one that has control of, you know, the finances, right? I'm talking about like actual personal power. And I went on a whole spiel about this in the first half of the video. So you definitely need to go back and watch that, because it definitely ties in with your horoscope. So, but either way, I feel like this is a time where there's going to be a lot of lessons around personal power, personal accountability, and really understanding where you kind of dim yourself down to fit in, especially in energetic exchanges and financial exchanges and karmic exchanges and relational exchanges, where you have been operating maybe from some kind of survival consciousness or survival matrix or victim consciousness or like whatever. And this is like taking back the accountability and the energy and taking back your power in your life in terms of what you're able to create, whether that be monetary, whether that be something physical, whether that be something energetic. Like, you are the creator, and there's so many different things that you can create, including money and including finances and including financial changes and stuff. Like, I feel like this is like really like financial autonomy and financial sovereignty, like going from like, you know, some kind of like victim survival consciousness to creator consciousness and all of that. I think that is definitely huge right now. There's a lot of self-actualization here for you as a Capricorn rising right now. And I really feel like that's what this new moon is bringing up, like more than anything. And again, go watch the first half of this video, because I really feel like it's going to relate to you as a Cap rising. So comment down below, sexy Capricorn rising, because you are, and let me know if that resonated and what you are noticing coming up for this new moon. And we are going to move on to Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius risings, we have the new moon happening here in your 7th house of Leo. And so with this new moon, this is definitely a time of kind of like integration that's coming together to make some kind of new beginning. There's some kind of new seeds being planted, but also there's a lot of contemplation happening here with Mercury retrograde in your 7th house. So there's something going on here where there's something coming into form, coming into fruition, to do with relationships and to do with who you are in relationships, who other people are in relationships with you, projections in relationships, social dynamics, personalities in relationships, validation in relationships, you know, kind of going from, you know, owning your power to, you know, like kind of going from like needing to be validated to owning your power, basically. And so, but this new moon is kind of like coming in to show you that there's a different way of doing something, that like you can shine from your heart and from your truth, and you can let out the deep stuff, and you can let out deeper layers of who you are. And when you can see yourself for who you are and look at the deepest corners of yourself and accept yourself and feel whole within yourself, you no longer need anybody else to do that for you. Right? And when they do, it makes it that much better because you have done it for yourself. And so when someone truly sees the whole of you as you've done for yourself, it can, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It just adds to that. It's not the reason that you feel good, but it just adds to that. And you know that they're your people because they can see the whole of you. They can see through to the true you, and you can be in your wholeness and be in your authenticity around them. It's like anybody that you're having to dim yourself for, dim your light for, shrink for, be a little bit more of this or be a little bit less of that for, is not authentically aligned with you in the first place. Okay, so like this is something that you've got to remember. It's like, where have you or maybe other people in your life been kind of putting on this performance energy with relationships or with other people? And where is it like, you know what, like I am exhausted of feeling like I have to exaggerate parts of myself, or that, you know, I'm sick of other people exaggerating parts of themselves and like being fake or like whatever. I'm going to just like be me, and I'm going to love myself for who I am, and whoever wants that can have that, right? So this is like a new beginning and kind of like a reckoning between like you and your social dynamics with other people or your significant relationships in your life, and you know where you're kind of going from this place. And so let me know how that resonates down below, Aquarius risings. I'd love to hear your feedback down below on that, and comment down below sexy Aquarius risings, because you are boo. And we are going to move on to Pisces rising. So for Pisces risings, this new moon is happening in your 6th house. And so this is literally so much for you as a Pisces rising, probably about like your work performance and your performance on a day-to-day basis with your habits, your duties, your responsibilities, and really taking personal power of these things, taking personal responsibility of these areas of life. And this, new moon could definitely be showing you where you have been potentially secretly not being true to yourself, or holding yourself back, or like trying to fit in, or trying to overperform, or putting on kind of a mask to, get things done. And so this is definitely a time where it's like, okay, we're coming back to like the truth of, who you are, and being authentic, and coming into wholeness by you being proud of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, not needing other people to be proud of what you're doing, but you be proud of what you're doing. Like that is where it all starts. So if you're giving in to old things, old mindsets, old matrices, old victim consciousnesses, old, past stuff, old past cycles, old past self-sabotage, old past patterns, habits, things that have power over you with Pluto in the 12th opposing this new moon, you're likely not going to feel like, super proud of yourself. This is a time to really face the things that you're holding on to that are keeping you kind of out of alignment with yourself on a day-to-day basis, that is making you feel maybe a bit disconnected from your body, your habits, your job, your health, the things that give you energy and vitality, especially with Mercury retrograde here in your 6th as well. So this is a massive time to contemplate these things. Are you feeling not good enough in a work situation, therefore you're like overperforming, or you're, dimming your light a little bit, or like something like that? And like, how can you face that? And if you missed the beginning, I actually gave that as an example and talked really in depth about that, or something similar to it as an example, and talked really in depth about that. So definitely go back and watch the beginning, because I think as a Pisces rising, you guys will really relate to it. So anyway, but yeah, so this is definitely a time where you could be dealing with other people's like perfectionistic tendencies, judgments, harshness, criticism. And it could be like other people kind of constantly telling you, like almost trying to edit you or fix you or tell you where you need to improve, or where you're doing this to other people. Okay. And so this is like a time where you're facing a lot of those things, and there's a lot of letting go of old shame, old guilt, old fear of making mistakes, old fear of looking like you are, incapable or whatever. And, not needing to fix yourself, right? This isn't about fixing anything. This is about like taking responsibility for ourselves, loving who we are, and also seeing where there can be ways that we improve, but not from a place of shame, right? And so anyways, so let me know down below, Pisces risings, how that resonated with you. If that does resonate, I'd love to know down below. Comment sexy Pisces rising down below if you watched till here. Go back and watch the beginning. I really think you're going to relate to it. And we are moving on to Aries risings. For Aries risings, this new moon for you is in your 5th house sector. So literally, it's so true. Everything I said in the first half of this video, I went really deep in this one, but it's going to be like a whole second horoscope for you. So you're really going to need to go back and watch that if you skipped ahead. But either way, we have a new moon, some new seeds being planted here in your 5th house. This is definitely a time where you are coming back to your own inner child. This is a time where you are coming back to your own energy and how you want to use that energy, your own vitality, and how you want to use that vitality on the things that actually bring you energy in your life, the things that actually bring you more vitality in your life, the things that feel creative and inspiring and magical and fun and entertaining. So this is a time where you get to kind of reflect on this area of your life, and also face where maybe you've gotten away from your heart's desire and the things that you truly love and the things that you truly want because of certain social dynamics, or certain social groups, certain social paradigms, certain people, the way the world is, etc., certain fears around those things, projections around those things, and or fears of visibility, in some way, shape, or form. but and trying to kind of fit in, right? And so it's like you've left too much of yourself behind. And this is where you're like reclaiming, reintegrating parts of yourself that are really part of your true you. This is where you're kind of like reintegrating parts of your heart so you can come back into wholeness with who you are. And so really like your key code here is going to be like love, loving all the parts of you, loving all the parts of yourself, no longer looking at the world through this lens of good and bad, or these guys are good or these guys are bad, or I can't be myself around these people. Once you see that you're worthy, and once you see that your passions and your heart and the things that you love are worthy and are meaningful and are important, it doesn't matter if everybody else likes them or not, right? It's going to be your passion, your excitement, your energy behind them that is going to be what matters. Okay. And so this is so much what this is about. Maybe you've also been dealing a lot with perfectionism and your performance and your usefulness and criticism and judgment, especially around work and your body and health and, you know, your day-to-day routines. And maybe you've been being way too hard on yourself lately with Mars on the South Node in Virgo. And so this is a time to chill out. You can improve, but you can also not shame yourself and criticize yourself and judge yourself. Like, improvement does not equal I'm a failure. Improvement does not equal I'm a horrible person. Improvement does not equal I've made a mistake and I'm horrible for it, right? Like, I think that this Mars and Virgo energy on the South Node is teaching us a lot. Like, it is okay to make a mistake. That's how you learn. You know, it's okay to take responsibility for areas that you need to improve. You don't have to shame yourself for it. You're not a failure. If you don't do it right, or if you do make a mistake, you aren't bad. If you make a mistake, like, it's okay to improve, but improve from a place of love, not from a place of fear or shame. And that's going to be like the key here. Okay. And you're really, really going to resonate with the first half of this video. So go back and watch that if you missed it. Again, Aries rising, comment sexy Aries rising down below because you are. I hope that was helpful. And we are going to move on to Taurus rising. So for Taurus risings, this new moon is happening in your 4th house of home, family, personal life, and everything kind of going on in your home life. So this is definitely a time where you were really contemplating like who you are at home, your identity at home, maybe the father figures in your life as well, with this being Leo being ruled by the sun, but also even your own personal power at home, your own personal role in your family and in your home life, and what's going on with that. And is there something that is kind of opposing these you know, kind of areas of life with Pluto in the 10th? Is there something that, you know, some kind of deeper, serious topic looming over your career, or looming over your life, or lifelong goals, or, you know, like a decision you've been needing to make, or a situation you've been needing to face or address, or a fear even, or the unknown, or like whatever the case may be? This new moon is coming in and opposing that Pluto in your 10th. And so this is definitely a time where it's like you are laying down some seeds, you are doing some contemplation on your personal life, your family, what you want to create here, your role here, and others' roles in this area of your life, but also, you know, the certain aspects of your career involving power, control, relations with other people, fitting in, and, you know, situations in which you may feel like your hands are tied or something, but maybe they really aren't. Okay. And so I think that there is a way with an opposition that we can kind of integrate both, where and liberate ourselves and free ourselves from the heaviness of it, especially with the Uranus aspects to this. So it's like maybe there's been some kind of looming fear in your career about fitting in or doing it the way that everybody else is doing it, or keeping up with everybody else. But this may be a time where you're like, you know what, I really want to take some personal time for me, but people say if I do that, then, you know, I'm not going to fit in, or people may look at me funny, or like whatever. And this is like a time where you've got to stop allowing others' opinions of you to hold you back, or to have control over you, or what the world at large thinks about your parenting, or your the way that you are as like a parent. For some of you could even be the case, or the way your role that you have with your family, or, you know, maybe you have like a different kind of career, and, you know, like you're worried about, you know, how, you know, people might view that, right? But either way, it's like bringing something to light in a way, and not allowing social paradigms and matrices and these social boxes and dynamics to hold you back in your life in some way, or to hold you back from the things that are true to your heart or the things that you truly care about and love in some way or the other. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Taurus risings. Let me know down below how that's resonating for you. I'd love to hear your feedback. And we are going to, oh yeah, comment down below, sexy Taurus rising. I knew I was forgetting something. We're going to move on to Gemini risings. So for Gemini risings, this new moon in Leo is in your 3rd house. So this is definitely a time where you're planting more seeds to be more expressive of yourself, more creatively expressive, you know, especially with your ruling planet Mercury here, more self-expressive, you know, where self-expression is kind of the name of the game here. Are you expressing yourself on a day-to-day basis? What does your life and your environment look like on a day-to-day basis? And what are you doing to create more of the vibes that you want to see in your day-to-day world? Are you allowing things going on outside of you, things going on a bigger level, old paradigms, old ways of thinking, old matrices that you're stuck in, old consciousnesses to basically, you know, control you in some way. So like what I mean by this is like this new moon's opposing Pluto in your 9th. So maybe on a personal day-to-day level, you're like, yes, I want to be happy. I want to vibe. I want to feel good. I want to, like, you know, worry more about myself and express myself more. But maybe there's this looming kind of paradigm looming over you. And I talked a lot about this in like the first half, that it's like, oh, but what is the world going to think if I'm doing this? Or these people are going to think this if I do this, or this group of people is going to think this if I do this, or, you know, something along those lines, or, you know, this particular religion or this particular belief I have says that I can't do XYZ. And so it's like, this is really showing you where you've allowed old external philosophies or old external paradigms and societal boxes and societal, you know, made up kind of narratives to have power over you and your day-to-day life and your day-to-day environment and your routine and your happiness and mood and personality and who you want to be on a day-to-day basis. Okay, like that's so much what this is about. It's like, you know, maybe you even feel bad for being happy in your own life because you feel like, oh, well, there's other places in the world where people are not happy. And so maybe I don't, you know, like, I don't know. Or if I allow myself to be myself in this podcast or online or like whatever, then, you know, I'm going to piss off this group of people, or what is this group of people going to say? And so this is like breaking out of these old, you know, boxes that you've been kind of putting on yourself that may have been proven true to you at one point. Maybe you really did see or piss off a certain group of people, or like a certain way of thinking by certain people, or like whatever, because you may have already been in fear that you were going to do that anyway, right? And so it's like, what story are you creating here with all of this? Or what stories and old ways of thinking are you allowing to have power over you and what you want to do with your life? Maybe it's like, you know what, I want to travel, but I have this huge fear because of XYZ going on and here or going on there, or because of how the world is, or like whatever, you know, like it's like you're creating this whole way of viewing certain things that maybe is holding you back or causing you to dim your shine a little bit, or dim your desires a little bit, or not be who you want to be right now, right? And so I think that that's a massive lesson here for you. I think you loving yourself and aligning with the truth of your voice and aligning with the truth of like your own self-expression is going to be your key over the next couple weeks with this Gemini rising. So let me know down below how that relates. I would love to hear your feedback on this Gemini risings. Comment down below sexy Gemini risings, because you are. And if you missed the beginning, go back and watch that. It's going to help you a lot and add a ton more context. Okay, so moving on to Cancer risings, my lovely Cancer risings, this new moon for you is in your 2nd house of money, income, finances, but also your skill sets, your capabilities, and really what you have to offer. Like, you know, what your talents, your gifts, and the things that you have to offer the world. And so this is a really great time to kind of get back to things that you're good at, or maybe things that you're naturally good at that you enjoy doing, talents that you have, skills that you have, capabilities that you have. But you could also be, you know, seeing where you've kind of allowed old paradigms or old ways of thinking or old, you know, old mindsets to kind of have power over you and dim your shine a little bit, or hold you back from what you truly know you're capable of, or hold you back from your potential, right? Like for a really great example of this is I have a really good friend that's a Cancer rising, and he is really like great with tattoos, loves doing tattoos, and he's good at it. And but he is worried that other people will think that he still has more to learn, which he does, you know, like he hasn't done, like he only did, I think, around 6 months of like training for it before he ended up moving and then had to get a different job and just hasn't done it since. And so he's like so worried about like people thinking that, you know, a certain way about it, that he like holds himself back from even doing it. And it's like, okay, just admit, and this is so like Mars on the South Node in Virgo too, like just admit that like, yeah, you do have some things to learn still, but it doesn't mean that you're terrible now. But he like looks at a lot of his work as if like it's not good, and it is. And then there are things that he is proud of, but then there are things that he's not. And it's like, because of all those different feelings of like improvement, he like won't even allow himself to start. And it's a lot of it is like all these ideas of what other people expect, or what he thinks other people are going to think, which is very Pluto and Aquarius, or what's typically accepted, or what people typically think in the tattoo industry. And that's like very Pluto and Aquarius. But he's worried, like, you know, he's not going to make money from it, so he holds himself back because of all of these old collective paradigms and ways of thinking about it. And so like that's like a kind of example of this, where it's like, you know, maybe there's something that you're good at, or maybe there's something that you want to buy, or that you're taking personal accountability for in your life, in terms of your energy, your money, and what you're capable of and your potential. But you're like, well, I don't know, can I do that? What about my debt? Or what about like what people normally do in this situation? Or what about what I've told people do in this situation? Or like you start second guessing yourself because of what is typically done, or the way it's typically gone about it. But a lot of it's all in your head that you maybe picked up from someone or heard from somewhere else, or like whatever. And so now you're like doubting yourself, right? And so this new moon's coming in to say, hey, we've got to like face whatever this is that you're allowing to have power over you on the outside of yourself. Like whatever outside situations, people, you know, a lot of these people aren't even like real people. They're like faceless people that we have in our head, like the critics that we have in our head, like the imaginary audience that we're like, oh my God, these people are going to say something. Okay, what people? What people? Oh, like, you know, the people that usually in some way, shape, or form I don't even care about anyway, because I'm not even doing this for those people. Oh, okay. So then why do we even care what they think? You know, like you see? So it's kind of like something like that, right? Like that's kind of what this new moon's like bringing up, or some examples of what this new moon's bringing up. It's like there's some kind of new chapter here forming that's trying to show you what you're capable of and your potential at creating the resources and the life that you want with the skills and the talents that you have, and what, you know, what you're capable of here. But if you're allowing the past, or old stories, or old things that you've rationalized in your brain, old matrices, old, you know, forms of kind of paradigms that you've bought into, well, I can't do this because of that, or I can't do this because then people will think X, or people won't let me do that because I'm this, like, you know, all these old boxes and paradigms that we've put ourselves into. And I talked a lot about this in the first half of the video. Then we hold ourselves back, and we're never really see if we could have done it, because we just automatically failed ourselves before we even started, and didn't want to face the fear or blow up that old way of thinking, right? And so, but this is the time, this is almost like a reckoning, where it's like, okay, it's up to you. You are the creator of your life. You can face this fear that's been holding you back. You can choose to do something new with it. You can choose to make a monumental change right here, right now. You can look fear in the face, okay? And like literally take its power away. You can integrate whatever deep, you know, seated part of your psyche is not on board with this, and then you can go for it, okay? And yeah, so that is what I'm seeing for you, Cancer rising. Also, watch the first half. I really do think you're one of the signs that will definitely relate the most to the first half of the video. And comment down below, sexy Cancer rising, because you are. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching.